Okay, both cameras are rolling. Okay, speed. Camera 3.
100 Tolkien-esque pages describing the history of the cup and who killed it.
Yes. 1, 2, 3. That was the best one ever.
Oh, I only had one clap.
Sound.
Camera 1 recording.
It sounds well. But did you ever disappear into your imagination as a hooker in a board?
Hi everybody, and welcome to episode 5 of Knights at the Round Table. Today I'm joined by lovely panelists Karin and Jen, and we are going to be discussing the most adorable book in the universe. Arguably, we will debate that. Roverandom by J.R.R. Tolkien. This book, it was one that Tolkien wrote for his young son, Michael? Michael, yes?
Middle son.
Yes. Middle son. When they were on a holiday and Michael lost his beloved toy dog, Tolkien wrote a story to explain what might have happened to the dog. It's a story about Rover, who's a small dog who is dumb enough to piss off a wizard, and the wizard, being, an arrogant ass, then turns him into a toy, and Rover has to go on a noble quest to try to turn back into a dog and make his life wonderful again. So we will start off by asking Karin, general impressions of the book. What did you think of it?
Well, I concur that it is the most adorable book in the universe, so there's not going to be much debate there. There are a couple of things that I really liked about it. Well, I really liked it generally, but in typical Tolkien fashion, it doesn't end where you think it's going to end. I definitely thought it was going to end where he finds the wizard and the wizard turns him back, but he finds the wizard and it's a good 20 pages or so before the wizard can be bothered turning him back at all. And then
the wizard's not a very nice man.
And then the wizard tries to send him off saying, I can't do it. So there's a lot more than just sort of reaching the end of the quest and saying, okay, there we go, it's done. So that was quite cool. And it's also about the small people. Rover's turned into a toy, and then he's like toy-sized, and so I thought that was another neat sort of thing about it, I guess. Although I did find the ending where the little boy 2 turns out to be the grandson of the woman Rover originally lived with. I thought that might be a bit of a problem for Tolkien's son, because if I were Tolkien's son, I would think, okay, so that means I'm going to get a dog. All right, Dad, where's my dog? I don't know if you had that problem, but anyway, that's my general impressions.
Good. Jen?
To carry on with that last little bit, Michael stopped listening to the story after the first chapter. So after it was explained what happened to the toy dog, the rest was told to his older son, John, and so he wouldn't have known about the dog. It explains that in the beginning.
I didn't actually finish reading that part.
It was long and involved and not written by Tolkien, which surprised me. I totally thought it was written by Christopher Tolkien, but it wasn't. Who knew? I guess they did. I liked the book. I don't know whether it's the most adorable book. It's definitely, for this size, and definitely by Tolkien, the most adorable book, but there are...
He's not big on adorable in his other books, so there's really not a whole lot of competition.
It's totally different from the rest of his writing, even in style. It doesn't go on and on about the rock or the tree.
Thank God.
Yeah, it describes it enough for you to get a visualization of what's going on, but it doesn't...
It doesn't push it with the description.
Of...
But in true Tolkien fashion, there are dragons.
Yeah.
Yes.
And really vivid descriptions of every place Rover goes.
Yes.
Now, this is my question, why could he not do a vivid description, but in few enough words in Lord of the Rings? It would have made it easier for me to reread it.
Because he wasn't writing for your convenience?
He also
should've been.
wasn't writing for a child
Yeah.
in Lord of the Rings.
That's another big one.
Yeah.
And, like, there were a lot of the descriptions in this that it felt shorter, but it was also, like, describing the moon or underwater. We know what those are like. It's...
That's true. So less fantasy in that sense. It was set in our world,
Right.
more or less.
But
more or less. A flat
sort
world.
of elaborated version.
A flat world, though.
Yes.
a flat world.
With a round moon.
How does that work then?
I don't know. They say that in here. They don't know how it works, but it's for a child, so it's like part of the magic.
Yes, I like those little additions. Like, as you probably know, all white dragons come from the moon. It's obvious, but just in case you weren't aware.
And red dragons come from volcanoes or wherever they said.
So he creates very, very fantastical landscapes out of familiar things, and then makes them make as much sense as they ever do in children's books.
Or a little bit more, even.
Yeah.
Like, normally in children's books, they don't explain stuff.
Where dragons come from?
Yeah.
They're just there.
They're just there, yeah.
Whereas in this one, he actually goes into detail. And they bring up things like, that snake dragon in Norse mythology that I've forgotten the name of at the moment.
Jormungandr.
Yes, Jormungandr. He's in the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah.
And it's,
Of course he is.
like, he's there. But it's a flat world, so I don't really know how that works. Maybe he goes this way instead of...
What about some of the characters Rover encounters on his journey? I haven't read the book for 8 years, so who were... I remember they have very complicated names, a lot of them.
Artaxerxes and Samathos. Samathos.
What
You
are
have to
they?
pronounce the P. They're
Samathos
wizards.
is a sand creature. Sort of like a semiad.
He's a
Like a
rabbit wizard
Right.
who lives under the sand at the beach.
Yes.
Okay.
And there's the man in the moon.
Yes.
Who's also a wizard.
Right.
Yes.
And
I don't know, the funny thing is about all these wizards, they're not really the most helpful characters. I mean, the man
like
in the moon
Gandalf in The
just sort
Hobbit.
of gives
They
Rover
were
wings and
the
sends him off to adventuring.
They were the initial idea for Gandalf. Like, they were leading towards him. And I found like the wizards helped. Like, Samathos was definitely the most helpful wizard.
He did his best.
Yeah. He sent Rover to the moon to try to get away from
Artaxerxes.
a wizard.
You can call him Pam.
Yes. So he sends him to get away from Pam because Pam would be mad that he ran away, I guess. And then he brings him back and he turns him into a water dog to go look for Pam, which is his name,
Pacific Atlantic magician.
Yes.
After he marries the Sea King's daughter. Funny things happen.
The rich merchant's daughter.
Wasn't it the rich merking?
Rich merchant. His lovely daughter.
Yeah.
I'll let you.
Just look it up because I was sure it was king, but
They say king the
not
first
sure.
time, I think, but they say merchant the second time.
Since his marriage to the rich merking's daughter.
They say merchant the second time.
Really?
I thought that was very strange.
Controversy at the round table.
Yes. Inconsistency.
Inconsistency.
Yeah.
We'll
Well,
have
there
to-
were a lot of inconsistencies.
Were there?
Yes. They mentioned them. I didn't always pick up on them, but there were a lot.
Yeah, I didn't always know
I
this.
thought that was interesting. Well, and they go to Elven home from Lord of the Rings. They actually see it
Yeah.
from
Really?
the whale.
I don't remember that at all.
I loved the mention of that.
Yeah, it was like a passing note. And
Yeah.
the whale's like, I shouldn't have brought you here. I could
then
be
they
killed
swim
for
away.
this, and I go away. Oh, and other characters they meet the Moondog Rover, which is how Roverandom gets his name because you can't have
Right.
two dogs in
Yeah.
a rover. And then there's the Sea Rover, underwater dog.
Who was also called Rover first.
before the Moondog, because the Moondog exaggerated.
A lot.
Yes.
That was
As
really cute,
moondogs
actually.
are wont to do. In terms of the age range you think this book is aimed at, what kind of age range would you recommend reading this?
I would recommend reading it to a very young child, like even before they can read.
Yeah.
They would be able to follow it, I would think.
Yeah, it's a simple story.
It is a simple story.
And
Some of the words are so long that you might not be able to. But if you're having it read to you, yeah, it'd be a good one.
And then they could read it themselves whenever they can read. I mean, that differs.
Yeah.
I would definitely think that by the age of 10, you should have read it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like 6 to 8 is probably the range where they read it for themselves.
A good learning to read kind of book.
Yeah.
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 And I think they would get a lot more of the references the older they
Right.
are, because like there are so many references to stuff in this book. There's like 6 or 7 pages at the back of this is a reference to this story.
What kind of stuff?
Like they talk about the magicians in the sea and how there aren't any right now, but there used to be, like Poseidon and Neptune and Njord and there's another Triton.
Yes.
There were 4.
Okay, yeah, that's...
And it's like I was able to pick up on that because I knew about all of that stuff. But somebody who's 6 may not.
Not
they
so
would know
much.
about Triton because of Little Mermaid
Right,
if
yeah.
they watched Little Mermaid. But other than that, it's
Which
like,
they should. But, you know.
obviously.
And then there's reference to the dragons and whales that battled under the castle there and were the one I'm trying to remember what it's called, Care something or other.
Yeah. It was such a passing reference that it was just like...
Place in Wales, near Snowdonia.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how the white dragon lived on top of Snowdon for a while.
The studio
I
audience
found
has a
that-
response.
Oh.
Oh.
I love it because I don't actually...
Do you remember the
get
name
back
of
from
it?
Snowdonia, so I was like, I actually hiked to that place.
But that's not the name. It was Vortigern's Talk.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you know Desmarais?
Yes, it was
Yeah.
a young Merlin who told him about the prophecy that the two dragons revealed.
And there you go. Yeah, that's...
So the
Those are all the
references would be
points.
lost on the younger ones, but it would be a way of rediscovering childhood through the book with the extra.
always a good thing.
Yes.
Yeah. And now, in terms of, I mean, Rover is the main character. Roverandom, yes. Starts out as Rover, becomes Roverandom. What's his character arc like? Because, a lot of children's books start out, they're all about a learning process that, obviously, in a book like this, happens fairly quickly. And what are some of the lessons Rover learns, or does he?
Oh, he does.
Yeah.
He learns to mind his P's and Q's.
He learns humility.
Yes.
Which can be argued as kind of a questionable lesson. It's like one of the lessons that I hate most in any children's story ever is The Wizard of Oz, how the lesson Dorothy learns is if I want to go looking for adventure, then I'll never look further than my own backyard.
Yeah,
Like, that's
rubbish.
idiotic. So, I don't know. I mean, there's learning humility, and then there's
right.
having your spirit crushed.
Right.
I mean, what's the...
It's more that he learned to be polite to
Okay.
people, especially people he doesn't know.
Who might be a wizard and ruin your life, yeah?
Yeah. He also, I think my favorite part about this book was he had to decide at the end whether he wanted to be returned to his first owner as a human, like a regular dog, or returned to Little Boy 2 as a toy dog.
Okay.
And he chose the real dog and happened to get Little Boy 2 as well.
Yeah.
Coincidentally.
Conveniently, yes.
And I guess he kind of learns timing. It's a weird lesson to learn, but when he's under the sea and trying to get Artaxerxes' attention, and he was going to him when Artaxerxes is busy, and just being sent off with, no, I can't be bothered right now, go away. And so he kind of learns to deal with it and just keep having these adventures under the sea while he waits for Artaxerxes to have time for him, and then he sort of picks his moment well. So he kind of
That's an important lesson to learn.
Yeah, he gets a bit of...
Don't bother people when they're busy, you know, making sure that the big Jormungand dragon is falling asleep.
Right.
Finally, a book with real practical lessons for life.
Don't bite sharks on the tail.
Right. There is that one.
That's valuable. I wasn't planning to anyway, but some could argue that's just common sense more than
Check out
something you can
the
be taught.
entirety of a moon cave before you try to
Fall asleep.
Bark.
And a lesson from the...
That-
sorry?
I was just going to say that's also, kind of a lesson from The Hobbit as well. They all just
mentioned
went
that.
into the
Right.
cave and fell asleep.
They mentioned that.
Never fall asleep in a cave that you don't know what's in it.
But
Yeah.
they did check. There was nothing in the Hobbit cave except for a concealed door.
Okay, fair. They might not have
They're
checked
slightly
hard
clever.
enough. And what did... Oh, sorry, you had another point.
Just a lesson from the wizard, from Artaxerxes. Don't throw out everything you have, because there might be something really useful in it.
Even if you're angry.
And yeah,
Hoarding is good. What did you throw out?
the magic bag that would have turned Rover back, and it was only because
His wife
Mrs.
saved
Pam
it.
saved it because she knows how to pack.
Yeah.
Oh, lordy, that Tolkien.
Yep.
What a card.
Hey, at least the woman did something useful.
This is true.
In
And again, it's like not the
The
person
only
you'd
woman.
expect to save the day. Sort of think it was a wizard that would make things right at the end,
Right.
but it was someone completely unexpected, and I think that's something Tolkien does fairly often.
Okay. Good. So now we'll start wrapping things up. If you could give me your review out of 5 and a favorite part or something you got out of the book personally.
Do you want to begin?
Oh boy. I would give it probably a 4, I think, out of 5. It was definitely fun to go back and read it again. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad I did, because I wouldn't have remembered half of the stuff about
I
this.
didn't.
I didn't even remember that he went under the ocean. And that
Yeah.
was a big chunk. I think my favorite part of this was the garden of the sleeping children on the moon, on the dark side of the moon, because there's the light side that always faces the light and the dark side, which does not. And the garden of the sleeping children was definitely my favorite part, and it was such a little bit. But he meets Michael, little boy too, sorry.
Right.
But it's Michael, we know it's Michael, there, and he plays with him and was able to talk to him.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Which I thought was really sweet.
It was great.
And Karin, your review out of 5 stars.
Well,
They really love your review.
no, that's my review. That is my review. Yay. Actually, for the age range that it's aimed at, I would give it a solid 5, because it's a sort of, like you said, it would be a really good story to read aloud to a child.
Definitely.
And it would keep with all the references to other stories, it keeps the reader interested, and it means there are several layers to it for people to discover afterwards. And my favourite part was probably Rover's first explorations on the moon with the moon dog, and because it was the first part of the book that was really exciting. It was the first time Rover was really making the best of his situation and becoming interested in his surroundings. So I quite like that. Oh, and for the first time he actually had a companion, which was also
That's always nice.
quite lovely. So that was my favourite part.
Very good. And now we're going to ask Jen to pick a book for 2 weeks from now.
Excellent.
Good.
Only one big cut on it.
What do we got?
The Diamond Throne by David Eddings.
Okay, so that is your book for 2 weeks from today. This time next week, we're going to be discussing The Last Night, which is a movie, which I better find and see. And until then, have a lovely time, and we will